So one really great way to help kind of regulate yourself and calm yourself down is to get some kind of exercise. And I think for me, I know that getting exercise preemptively helps me stay calmer throughout the day. So whether that's, a quick walk around the block in the morning or even just walking across the parking lot into work, any kind of sort of little bit vigorous activity that gets our heart rate up can really prove to be a calming strategy for us. Hello and welcome to the Sunshine Parenting Podcast, where each week we talk about ideas for raising kids who become thriving adults. I'm your host, Audrey Monkey. I'm a summer camp director, writer, and speaker, and I've had the privilege of working with thousands of children, teenagers, young adult counselors, and parents over the past 3 decades. My husband, Steve, and I are raising 5 kids who currently range in age from 15 to 25. So my interest in raising kind, optimistic, self-reliant kids who become thriving adults is personal as well as professional. I've had such an incredible time this fall getting to meet with parents and teachers and kids in person to talk about some of the strategies that I write about in my book, Happy Campers. One topic that keeps coming up pretty much every time I'm with parents is the importance of learning to keep ourselves calm and model calm down strategies for our kids, as well as helping our kids figure out their own calm down strategies. In this episode, I'm going to be sharing a lot of ideas and tips, and there will be links in the show notes to all of the resources that I discuss so that you can research further any that are of interest to you. This is episode 110 of the podcast, and I'm calling it Keep Calm and Parent On. In preparing for this episode, I looked up the definition of the word calm and some synonyms. Here are some of the synonyms: motionless and undisturbed, halcyon, peaceful, placid, quiet, serene, still, tranquil, untroubled. Some of the antonyms for calm are agitated, excited, nervous, excitable, frenzied, passionate, ruffled, wild, turbulent, and worried. As I reflect on both the synonyms and the antonyms for calm, I realize that the antonyms describe my personality much more than the synonyms. And I don't know if this is true for you. I do think that people just have their own kind of set personality, and some people just are more calm and they have that more kind of moderate personality. My husband is one of those people. He's very even keel, not very excitable. People would describe him as being calm, whereas people would not describe me as calm. And there's nothing wrong with having different personalities, but it's kind of important to be self-aware and know what our personality or set point is, because it will affect us in our relationships with other people, and especially so in our parenting, because as we all know, kids can be somewhat unpredictable and often can kind of create more havoc in our lives. And so they require us to really dig deep and find a calm that we might not normally need to access. The ability to calm ourselves down is one that for many of us is sort of a lifelong journey. And it's something really important for us as parents to focus on, because when our kids see us learning how to calm ourselves down, we're modeling a really important skill that they will need to effectively navigate conflicts and relationships in their own lives. One resource I'm going to share in the show notes is something that I have been talking a lot about, both at camp this summer with our campers and also in my talks this fall. And that's the concept of flipping our lid. And it's a really great hand-brain model concept where Daniel Siegel describes very well sort of how our brain neurologically is wired and how the amygdala, or kind of the emotion center of our brain, the fight, flight, or freeze part, can often rule the day, especially when we're agitated and overly emotional. So especially with kids, oftentimes their behavior, their words, their actions, they didn't plan to do them, but their lid is flipped, and so they're unable to make good decisions about how to manage those really strong emotions. Adults also flip our lids. So anytime that we say or do anything that afterwards we think, why did I say that? Or I didn't mean to say that. That's an example of a time where our prefrontal cortex, or the thinking part of our brain, was not connecting with the emotional part, and we were just reacting in a way that is just not at our best. So learning our own skills and gaining in our ability to calm down, self-regulate, and manage anger can really have some lasting positive effects, most importantly in terms of our meaningful, sustained relationships. And since the people and the relationships in our lives are really the most important predictor of our happiness and well-being, and that's both for us and our kids, this is a really important skill to learn. One important note on this topic is most of the time, the reason we need to calm down is because we're upset, either with another person or because of a circumstance. And it's really important to remember not to try to resolve a conflict or solve a problem when we or our child or whoever else is involved in the conflict still have that high level of emotion. Nothing is going to get resolved while our lids are flipped, one or both of us. And so really the very first step in resolving any problem or conflict is calming down. For the context of this podcast episode, I'm going to be speaking to you as the parent about your own calm down strategies, knowing that if you learn about these and possibly try to utilize them, you're going to be modeling them for your kids and perhaps helping them figure out their own coping strategies for calming down. So probably the most commonly known calm down strategy is to take some deep breaths. Unfortunately, if you're the person needing to calm down, there's almost nothing worse than someone telling you to take a deep breath. But even though most of us don't want to be reminded to take some deep breaths, it really is a good strategy for calming down. I am absolutely terrible at deep breathing, but it really does work. I know on my Fitbit app, they have one of the activities you can do is 2 minutes of deep breathing, and it kind of guides you through like breathing in and breathing out. And it is hard for me because I'm not good at that. But it really is true that if you can even just get in one really good deep breath, that can help get you calm down. It can help reconnect that prefrontal cortex, the thinking executive function part of your brain, with your emotions. So even if it's just one really good deep breath, and that, a good way to try learning how to do a deep breath is to lie on the floor and feel in your belly. See if you can take such a deep breath that you feel the air going in really deep and then blowing it out. There's lots of other breathing techniques, and I'll put a link in the show notes to some of the things that we've learned with kids. We have breathing beads, and there's a thing called 5-finger breathing. There's a lot of different techniques, and actually for me, because I'm not very good at this, all of the kid techniques actually work really well. So deep breathing of any kind is a great way to calm down. So one really great way to help kind of regulate yourself and calm yourself down is to get some kind of exercise. And I think for me, I know that getting exercise preemptively helps me stay calmer throughout the day. So whether that's, a quick walk around the block in the morning or even just walking across the parking lot into work, any kind of sort of little bit vigorous activity that gets our heart rate up can really prove to be a calming strategy for us. One of the parents in our Campy Campers book club meeting around the campfire this summer mentioned that if she's frustrated with her kids, she will often tell them, I'm going to go out and take a walk. And I think this is a really great strategy just to have a go-to kind of exercise thing that you can do just to help you regroup and calm down. And it doesn't have to be anything long. It could just be, 10 minutes of a walk, or it could be some jumping jacks, or perhaps some stretching, just anything that kind of gets your heart rate up a little bit and can help you re-regulate yourself. Running has been for a long time my go-to exercise, but in the past couple of years, I had some different injuries that prevented me from being able to run. And I really noticed that I didn't feel as good mentally when I'm not running. So I've been back to running very slowly and alternating with walking. And I just find for me, just getting enough cardio where I get sweaty and just really feel my heart beating really helps make me just feel better all the time. I also think there's something about the breathing pattern that I get into when I'm running that is actually my best way to get in some deep breaths. One of my favorite calm down strategies is creating a place that you have that you can call whatever you want. It can be your chill spot or your regroup zone, or something I talked about this week in my email was a recombobulation area. So just somewhere that you can relate this particular space with a calming down. So it could be a chair outside on your front or back porch. It could be a comfy chair by the fireplace. It could be just a quiet room in your house where there's no one else there. And what you can do is have this place be a spot where you keep a few items that you know work for you to calm yourself down. So there are a lot of things that you can do. If you have a craft or thing that you like to do, like for example, adult coloring books. Coloring is a real calming strategy, or some people do lettering. Any kind of art or creative endeavor, knitting, crocheting, kind of repetitive movements like that, you might keep those items in your relaxation spot so that you associate that place with sort of the calming feeling of being relaxed and doing something that kind of re-regulates you. You could always also, grab a cup of tea to go there. It could just be a book that you read. Maybe you light a candle that smells really good. But you create this space, even in the midst of sort of a chaotic home or day or part of the day, a little place or retreat where you can go and regroup just for a few minutes. So this is sort of flipping the script on the idea of a timeout. So, as an adult, we basically kind of need time out in the terms of like we need a break from our kids for a few moments to regroup and refigure out what we want to do. So I think making it a positive thing where you can say to your kids, you know what, I need a few moments. I'm going to go to my, special chair or whatever it is you call it. And you just take that time to do whatever you need to do to regroup. And I love that concept of taking yourself out of the kind of crazy situation and just creating a calm space for yourself. There are certain kinds of music that can actually really soothe us. I know with my dad who has Parkinson's and he recently had a hip injury and a bunch of rehab, the therapist actually said that classical music is really great and very calming for people. And so I've been trying that out a little bit myself, just finding different kinds of music that sort of like seem to almost slow your heart rate and calm you down. So perhaps put together a playlist of your favorite sort of calming music. And that's something that you can definitely even put on with headphones if you're feeling stressed or you want to calm down. Maybe you just have a 10-minute playlist of soothing music. It can also be something that you just have playing in your home to kind of create sort of a whole more calm atmosphere. When we're feeling anxious or upset or agitated, it might be counterintuitive, but what's actually really helpful is to access a different emotion that's a positive one to replace whatever is the negative emotion that we're filled with. So one thing to do, John Gordon, who wrote The Energy Bus, talks about taking a gratitude walk. So maybe pairing with that walk that you're doing to kind of get away from your stress is to, as you walk, think of things that you're grateful for. If you keep a gratitude journal, this is a great time to pull it out and jot down a few things that you're grateful for. One of our counselors at camp this summer told me that she has kept a gratitude journal for 4 years and each day has written down 3 things she's grateful for. And I just think that's a phenomenal practice for well-being and to help kind of keep yourself in a positive state of mind. Another great way to calm yourself down is to laugh. So if you have some go-to things that make you laugh, it could be a YouTube video or a meme or a photo, really anything that's funny to you. Perhaps there's a TV show that you really like that makes you laugh. Anything that kind of bring out that positive emotion of laughing and humor is a great way to help you calm down and feel better. Something that is difficult to do, but is very effective way to help ourselves calm down is to ask for a hug. So if we have someone who's close enough to us who we can just say, I really need a hug right now, a nice, tight hug is really helpful. If you don't have a person available, you can give yourself a hug by wrapping your arms around yourself and squeezing. Also, weighted blankets or other ways to just put some tension on your body like that can really often help calm you down. I learned another simple strategy from Tina Payne Bryson that's amazingly effective, and it's just putting one hand over your chest, and one hand will feel better than the other for some reason. For me, it's my right hand, but if you're feeling tense and you put your hand just kind of over your heart, it actually helps you feel more calm, and I'm not sure how that works, but I learned that from Tina Payne Bryson, and it's really effective. There are many other calm down strategies, but the final one that I'm going to cover in the podcast today is just some kind of stretching or loosening up. I have never been a big yoga person, but lately I have found a really low-key yoga studio in my town, and I've gone a couple times and really enjoyed it. I just go to a beginner class, and just some of the simple yoga moves are so great. The child's pose is really relaxing. Downward dog that a lot of people do. Any kind of stretching really does feel good. It takes a lot of the tension out of our bodies and really helps us calm down. So I think that's another really great strategy for calming down. I hope you found something helpful in this episode and maybe perhaps a strategy that you might try when you're just feeling the need to calm down and be able to approach your kids with a calmer response. I'd really love to hear from you if you end up trying any of these or if you have additional suggestions that I can add as resources on the show notes for this episode. You can get in touch with me by sending an email to audrey@sunshine-parenting.com. As always, the show notes for this episode are available on my website. The show notes are quite extensive for this one, with many links to the different suggestions that I had, as well as some photos that I've included. You can find those by going to my website at sunshine-parenting.com and searching for episode 110. Each Friday, I send out a brief email with a link to my latest podcast episode, any posts, as well as telling you about what books I'm reading and resources that I'm finding helpful. If you'd like to subscribe, text the word HAPPY to 345-345. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Sunshine Parenting Podcast. I'm so grateful to be on this journey with you, raising a generation of kids who become thriving adults.
This podcast is a proud member of Parents on Demand, a network of high-quality shows for families just like yours. Download our free network app on Apple and Android and listen to your favorite episodes on the go.